We're outfitters.
Outfitters.
That's what we do.
Yeah?
Yep.
No doubt. But what they do
What they do
is a call
is a call
to action. We're able to wear our camo.
because they were there.
We love what we do.
What we do,
But we honor
what they do. We're Deer Thugs.
Deer Thugs.
Deer Thugs. Today's
Hunters united for good.
we're Deer Thugs.
Deer Thugs.
Deer Thugs.
Are you?
Are you? Are you?
Mossy Oaks Deer Thugs is brought to you by Walmart. Be sure to look for your Deer Thug gear. Every sale supports the Outdoor Recreation Heritage Fund. Be a hero. Thank a hero.
Section 1, question 6.
How big is a buck's core area?
That depends. It varies from buck to buck.
Jimmy Riley, Giles Island.
Deer are kind of like humans. They have different tribal habits. I mean, none of them are the same. Some bucks hold to that, quote, square mile. They stick to that core area. Some bucks' area is a little bigger. It might be 2 or 3 square miles. But some bucks may have a core area that they use in the summer and the fall, and then come in the winter, they may be 5, 6, 7, 8 miles away. And they'll spend the winter right there and go right back to that other area when the spring rolls around. So that may be disheartening to somebody who has a small piece of property that thinks that, you know, they got this certain buck on trail cam and they're looking forward to killing him. And after I said that, you know, he may be 5, 6, 7 miles away. Well, that's true. But stay in the woods, because you may have lost your buck, but you may pick up another buck from someone else's property 5, 6, 7, 8 miles away. Well, Rusty with Mossy Oak was lining up the season for us Deer Thugs and different places for us to go hunting. He called me and said, "Man, how would you like to go to Montana?" Ever since I was a kid, I have always wanted to visit Montana. Very excited. I'm gonna tell you what, I've been here now for several days in Montana, and it was everything that I had hoped for and more. And I called the owner, which is Keith Miller, and we had a very long conversation, and he debriefed me on how the hunt was going to go and everything. Oh, the wind. First afternoon over here, he said, "Man, I got a spot. There's 2 or 3 shooter bucks coming out there, some 8 points, and there's a nice 10-point coming out there, and but I got to put you in the ground blind." I said, "Okay, I'm good with that."
And it works. Somebody designed
He said, "It's a hay bale blind." I said, "What?" He said, "No, it's a blind. It looks just like a hay bale." And this thing is sitting out in the middle of an alfalfa field, and we're looking back into where the deer are going to come out. I said, "You got to be kidding me. That thing looks just like a hay bale." He said, "Trust me, they get up all around it." He was right. We actually had one of the deer that he wanted me to shoot, came out, just didn't get quite close enough. We had deer coming out, and they were walking and laying down 10, 12, 15 yards from us, walking right by us. But that was a very good hunt. And I said, "Well, this is going to work. This ground blind out of a hay bale is going to work."
Mossy Oaks Deer Thugs is brought to you by Ram Truck Brand, Quaker Boy, Weaver Optics, Precision Shooting Equipment, Mossberg, Federal Ammunition, and by Mossy Oak Brand Camo.
Section 1, now 6.
How big is a buck's core area?
Well, the buck's core area, it just depends. During a rut, it's much bigger. It doesn't have any really area. It just goes wherever it needs to go. But, roughly, 2 square miles is what my guess would be.
Charlie O'Brien, the Catch-22 Ranch.
It depends. If they've got water, food, and cover right there, a lot of times the core area in the buck will be much smaller. So really, what's out there, the terrain, and those 3 things we talk about, water, food, and cover, dictates how big I think the core area of buck will be before the rut. Because once the rut starts, the reproduction process is actually the most important thing, and the bucks won't even worry about eat. They'll worry about cover and does more than they will food. So it's one of the things that changes periodically through a year. So the question is kind of twofold in the sense that it changes during the rut.
But that second or third day, it started warming up a little bit, and they slowed down, coming off of that moon phase a little bit. So it slowed down, but we stayed in that hay bale blind, and but the deer were just coming out too late. We had 2 or 3 shooters come out, but we lost camera light. These are mature deer, people. He has got mature bucks on this place. One of them particularly was a 10-point, very nice 10-point. And he's front and center right there, but nothing we could do. We just couldn't. There wasn't enough light there to take the shot.
Mossy Oaks Deer Thugs is brought to you by Walmart.
Most hunters get into the habit of hunting the first 2 or 3 hours or the last 2 or 3 hours of the day. I'm gonna take this one.
If your hunting area is pressured by other hunters each season, you can bet that the bucks are patterning that movement. When the rut is on and bucks are moving all day in search of does, then hunting all day is a good idea. Some days, the first hour and last hour are very productive, but don't forget about midday activity. Many of the biggest bucks taken each year are seen between 11 and 2 during the middle of the day. Most hunters have left the woods by then, and believe me, deer pick up on this. Try and hunt all day a few times, especially during the rut, or take a few days, sleep in, and try hunting those midday hours.
Sometimes it's hard to break those old habits. Those really big bucks, they're not on any schedule. They're going to move the best when their comfort level's the highest.
Save money, live better. Walmart.
Well, we hunted the hay bale blind, that end of the field, like 3 afternoons in a row. And he was taking us to another spot off in river bottoms, so stay away from that area, let those deer be settled down in the morning. He put us in there that morning, walked us in. I could barely drag my bow through there, that's how thick it was. And we got to a spot there, and all of a sudden it opened up just a little bit. And sure enough, we didn't see but 7 deer. But as a bow hunter, there's only 1 deer you want to see, and we saw him. That's a good one right there. We got a shooter, boys. This is old Sad Daddy here. That's the deer I wanted. And man, he was coming, but we had seen some other small bucks. They had crossed through, and they'd crossed through about 55 yards, but he just followed their path, 55 yards. And I wanted to call to that deer so bad and bring him back around, but we had a doe right under us. Nothing I could do. We never saw him again, but I'm telling you, that was a 150 class buck. That was a good deer, really good deer.
Section 2, question 1.
Do you think deer can see hunter's orange?
No.
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 Mossy Oaks Deer Thugs is brought to you by Lethal, Sheffield Financial, Ozonics, Charlie O Products. Come here, dear. Schwacker Broadheads. And by Mossy Oak Brand Camo.
Section 1, question 6.
How big is a buck's core area?
A buck's core area is usually 200 to 300 acres, depending on terrain, habitat, and what area of the country they're located.
Bred Law, Union Springs, Alabama.
For instance, in the South, a 50-acre swamp could have everything a buck needs. But in the Midwest, it could be a 500-acre ag field with a drainage ditch. One thing is certain though, these core areas are constantly changing, depending on food source, hunting pressure, and the rut. A buck needs 3 things in his core area: food source, water, and cover. The closer in proximity to these 3, the smaller the core area. Usually, bucks start off with a larger core area in pre-season, and then once hunting pressure gets to them and the season opens, they will shrink them down. However, as food sources start to dwindle, they're forced to expand on them again. And when the rut kicks in, all bets are off, because you'll see bucks you haven't saw all year long, don't even have a trail camera picture of. And then on the other hand, bucks that you do know and have pictures of, they'll turn up in the darndest places.
So that afternoon, Keith said, well, I tell you what, he may come back out of there. He said, well, I got to stand right here on the east side of that field, northwest wind coming across. You're going to be in good shape right there. And I wanted to see what was coming out in this backfield that we hadn't seen yet. And I figured there were deer back there that weren't making it to us before. Man, it was buck after buck after buck. You know, little old scrap bucks, you know, chip bucks, and on up to medium-sized bucks, and then some good deer. And then the one we were waiting on comes out.
Call Thug with Ernie Calandrelli.
Hey Ernie, in certain weather conditions, what works best for calling?
Well, it depends on the situation. Of course, I'd rather call when there is no wind, but that's very rare when you're out there hunting deer. So you're going to have to adjust to whatever the situation brings you. Now, if the wind's not blowing real loud, of course, I'm not going to call real loud to start. But as that wind picks up during the day, I'm going to have to get louder, because one thing you want to do is you want to make sure them deer hear you. If I'm seeing a buck that I'm trying to call into me, I want to make sure that I'm calling loud enough where he's coming to me, where he can hear that call and come to me. But of course, if I'm blind calling, again, I'm going to call loud enough for that particular condition, depending on how hard the wind is blowing.
Yeah, and I really like that call you got right there, that brawler call.
This one, when it's windy, I use this one if it's windy or not. But loudness, you got that wind blowing, you're going to do something that you want to stop that deer, you want to get his attention. Even if I got to do that. I want something to grab his attention, focus his attention on me, then I'm going to get a lot more realistic sounded on that call.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That definitely works for me too.
Call Thug is brought to you by Deer Thug Calls, powered by Quaker Boy.
And I look up, and he's coming out of that sage. He steps up to the edge of that field, and I'm like, I ain't going down that easy. Quaker Boy's got a new grunt call. It's called the Brawler. It's a deep-throated call. I pull that thing out. First time I hit it, he looks at us. And I just steered that sucker with that Brawler call. I've never done that before to that extreme. And he turned and he crossed out in front of us. Most of the bucks that we had seen that came that route had been working around and giving us a real good look here at 20 yards. And he did. He started coming and he stopped. I don't even think Joe could see him with the camera. I pulled that Brawler out. That turned him. He turned a U-turn and he came back around. And he's coming quick. We're losing light fast. I get hooked back up. When he comes around this side, he's 25 yards. Mick. Mick. Oh, you talking about a relief. You talking about pressure off. Man, look at them tines standing up. Wow. Look at that cuss. Perfect Montana 10-point right there. And a huge deer, probably a 240-pound deer. What a week in the big sky country, Montana. I'm fixing to go get some help, get this dude out of here. My experience out here in Montana has been everything I wanted it to be.
Section 1, question 6.
How big is a buck's core area?
A buck's core area is going to vary.
Kevin Burleson, heart of Texas bow hunting.
You talk to a biologist and they like to throw around a half-mile square area as far as their home area, but you know, a lot of that terrain is going to dictate that, the deer population, number of mature bucks in a certain amount of area. You know, a lot of that is going to really dictate how big a buck's core area is. It's not unusual for us to see a big dominant breeding buck, you know, travel as much as 3 or 4 miles on our ranches in a day. So, you know, that's going to vary a lot, but you know, they do have some favorite zones that they like to stay in that might be a little smaller, but it can reach out into a pretty big area too.
Section 1, question 6.
How big is a buck's core area?
You know, a buck's core area, that's a tricky question too. I think it depends on a lot of the terrain and the area of your country that you're in.
Justin Akins, Canadian River Hilton.
The two main things that a deer has to have is a bedding area and a food source. In the summertime, it's going to be different than it is in the wintertime, because in the summertime, a buck can usually get right up out of his bed, usually browse on green grass, leaves. He's got a lot more fresh vegetation with higher proteins. And in the wintertime, after a freeze, after the rut, that buck, a lot of times, it's not uncommon for him to have to travel 3, 4, 5 miles to a wheat field. So I feel like a buck's core area changes from summer to winter, and in the wintertime it's quite a bit bigger. If they have their choice, it'll be less than a square mile. You know, when the rut hits, there's no such thing as a core area. That doesn't mean anything to them. They're going to really get out and travel.
So we go out to this spot where we had planned on setting up for that evening, and there was a lot of deer come out there, some good deer. So on September 9th, it's our second evening here in Montana Whitetails. Walking in here, there's already some deer out in the alfalfa field. We got settled in and looking forward this evening, try and get it done here in Montana. And it wasn't, you know, 5-10 minutes later, we started seeing deer coming out. Some doe came out, some small bucks. We had some bucks coming in right under us. And I'm looking around and I just caught movement of a deer coming off to the left. And he come out in an opening, I drew back, got him to stop. Settled a pin on the release. I misjudged him a little bit, you know, honestly. The shot was a little lower than what I had hoped. So we decided, since the weather was going to be cold overnight, it'd be best just to let him go, because trailing him in the high grass at night could be tough. Some more sign right here.
I like it when it's in tall stuff because it rubs off.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of green in here. Sticks out a little bit, or some more right there. Hold on a second. Something laying up there. Looks like a piece of tine sticking out.
Got it, brother. Let's go. Come on.
It's awesome. It's just beautiful deer.
Heck yeah, you got it.
It looks better laying here.
Man, yeah. He didn't lose any of that mass.
No.
Congratulations, brother.
Thanks.
Happy for you.
Thanks a lot.
How long a drag we got out of here?
Well, it's probably a good 300 plus yards.
Crossing the river 3 different times?
Yep.
Well, we better get to it. Come on.
Yep, all right. It was just an awesome hunt. I mean, it's a great representative of, you know, Montana out here. We have a lot of bucks, you know, to give opportunities to the hunters.
Bow Thug with Blake Shelby.
Good shot for you.
Thank you, sir. Blake, why do you not see overdraws on bows anymore?
Well, the best answer is because you just really don't need them anymore. You know, bows have gotten faster, but more than anything, overdraws were related to aluminum arrows because aluminum arrows were heavy, so you had to get them as short as possible to get your bow speed up. When carbon came along and pretty much replaced aluminum arrows, they're so much lighter, and you can get a carbon arrow down to 5 grains per inch, which is the minimum that any bow manufacturer recommends. So they're light. You can get a real light setup, and you've got so much more speed in the bows, you just don't need them anymore.
Right. Well, I remember when they came out, I was one of those short draw guys, and the overdraw, it really helped me to try to catch up a little bit, but I just know you don't see them anymore.
It was the ticket in its day.
Bow Thug is brought to you by PSE, Experience Performance.